This week's episode is sponsored by Saged. Saged is a spiritual app and resource center for earth-based teachings and practices. This powerful app gives you access to work with the world's best sages, practitioners, and professionals who will help you improve your quality of life and sustain your spirituality. Sage lets you customize your daily practices and healing work by giving you access to a vast library of guided meditations, rituals, breath work, sound healing, and many other spiritual tools. Stay aligned, connected, and supported on your spiritual journey with Sage. Download Sage for free from your Android and iPhone app stores. This episode is also sponsored by Vibrant Ventures, a company dedicated to unlocking the highest performance for individuals, teams, and companies by igniting their vibrancy and innovation. Reach out today at Vibrant.com to schedule your energy assessment and begin vibrating at a higher frequency to attract all the abundance you desire. This cutting-edge assessment offers amazing insights into how you energetically respond when life is going normal, as well as when you are under stress. This unique awareness helps you fast-track your ability to make powerful shifts to get the results you want. Hi, sweet souls. Welcome to I'm Awake Now What, a podcast about life, love, laughter, and enlightenment. I'm your host, Krista Xiomara. Rack up some good karma by leaving a 5-star rating and write a review if you're enjoying this podcast and tell your friends about it. Today, I'm joined by Jeroen de Wit, spiritual psychologist, art therapist, Reiki healer, and past life regression practitioner. Jeroen's life work is centered around empowering people to live authentically through his healing modalities. We discuss Jeroen's spiritual path and how he came to fully embody his being on his journey. He gives the audience insight into what past life regression therapy session encompasses and how this powerful method can liberate and restore our being. Welcome to the podcast, Jeroen.
Thank you for having me here today.
The question I always ask everybody before we kick it off is so that my audience can familiarize themselves with you. If you can just give like a quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
All right. So my name is Jeroen de Wit. My name sounds a little funny because I am from the Netherlands and we do funny names in the Netherlands. It's a very common name where I'm from, but I am based in LA, and what I do is I use the Loris Cannon's method for past life regression to do past life regression. So I am on the planet to help whomever I can work with into their authenticity, into living a heart-centered and joyful life. And I use QHHT for that.
Yeah. And I saw that you have like multiple degrees in certifications. I think you do have Reiki, and then you also have a master's of spiritual psychology, right?
I have a master's in spiritual psychology, yes, of USM, University of Santa Monica.
Yeah, awesome. And then since this is a spiritual podcast, I always like to calibrate with my guests. What was their experience with spirituality or religion growing up? And then fast forward to where you are and kind of like what you believe in and what are you practicing these days?
I am from the Netherlands, which is a very cerebral culture, very rational culture, at least it was to me. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of half-assedly raised in Catholic religion. I say half-assedly because my parents weren't really believers. They just, followed their cultural upbringing. Mm-hmm. And they took me and my brother to church until we were about 7 years old. And then they were kind of passing us off to each other every Sunday, like, you taking this time because I did it last week. And then they figured, look, our hearts are not into this, so let's just forget about it all. So I just did First Communion, but when confirmation came around, which happens when you're 12, my mom asked me, do you want to do confirmation? I asked her, what is this? And she said, well, it's your conscious choice to join the Catholic Church. And I'm laughing because it was already such a notion, like, why would you do that? And so I asked her, well, will there be a party like First Communion? Will I get any gifts? And she said, no, it's just like
you were like, if there's going to be a party, then maybe.
Exactly. I was like, there's nothing going on. I was like, you better sweeten this deal, sister, if you want me to do this. But, my mom wasn't, she just asked me. So
I love that.
Yeah. So that was my half-hearted upbringing in Catholicism. As a kid, I was aware that there was something else than just the physical world. I don't know how I knew, but I knew, and I was always looking for it. And I knew I wasn't finding it in church. At the times that I went to church, it was just kind of boring and monotonous, and people would sit up and sit down and mumble some stuff and then get your stale wafer and a little bit of watered down wine, and then off you go. There was no celebration, there was no joy, there was no feeling of spirit or, an elevated state or anything. So I knew this was, and then looking at this ghastly figure of a dead man, with blood trickling down, hanging on a cross, like how is that to bring you joy? I found out later that the kind of Catholicism that I was raised with was the light version, because we were not, hell was not a concept. We weren't, the fear of hell was not put in our minds. It was just more about doing things together and togetherness. So it was that was a good part of it. But I found out later that Catholicism in general in the world is practiced with all this fear and this guilt and this feeling bad about yourself. So yeah, I just went on my own search to experience spirit or to try and find it. And I didn't know where to look for it. I found out later that it never really incarnated into my body. I was checked out for the first half of my life. Mm-hmm. And so it was like I was with one foot in, sort of a spiritual realm and then one foot in the earthly realm. I wasn't aware of this, but I found out later that I chose this kind of existence for the first part of my life, so I wouldn't have to fully experience the harshness that is present on the planet. I went on my own search trying to find spirit. And so, life happened. And then not until I was it 8 years old? Yeah, I was 8 years old. And my mom brought home a book from the library. She was a librarian at the time. And it was a book about out-of-body experiences and from the Monroe Institute. And I read it. I just knew this is true. This is the first time that what I believed about life and the universe was being reflected to a degree in this book that I found. So it was kind of a validation for how I felt about life. And life continues. And then when I was 26, I did the landmark forum because I was in school and I always felt like I was in a bubble. So I couldn't really connect with people and didn't understand how life was done. I didn't do well in school, not in work. It was very hard for me to be part of society. I always felt like I was looking from the outside in. Counselor in school, I was training to be a dancer. I suggested I do the landmark forum to sort of figure myself out. So I did, and this ended up being my spiritual awakening, meaning going through this forum, I was stripped of whatever weak sort of sense of self I had and of reality. My sense of self or validity about myself was based on external circumstances and conditions, and if people like me or not. What I found out later is that my circuitry came online, so that I did open myself up to be fully incarnated in the body. But when that happened, I started feeling a lot, feeling all the suppressed feelings in myself. I started feeling the pain of people around me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was losing my mind. I found holistic healers, energy healers first to help me with this. Slowly but surely, different layers of my being came back inside of the body. First, the more basic energy systems came in, and then the more subtle and ethereal slowly. And, I thought, okay, well, it's done now. I'm back in the body. It's good. But then I found out I still needed to learn how to deal with feelings. And so I found a wonderful therapist in the Netherlands. It was like a body-oriented way of psychotherapy. It's called bioenergetics, that helps to feel and release suppressed feelings that are still present in the body but that have been suppressed. And this helped me greatly to embody my emotional self, my emotional body. So practicing Reiki and then receiving it, and another big healing happened. My body in one Reiki session took over and started contorting and screaming and raging, and all this suppressed stuff came out. And afterwards, I felt like I'm 10,000 pounds lighter. This has remained since. And this experience and the other experiences of healing that I received solidify desire for me to help others do the same thing. These healing processes extremely beautiful because they were so customized to the individual. While I was receiving Reiki, I was working on other people as well. And I just saw really beautiful healing processes and the empowerment that followed and the healing that I saw in myself and others. So this put me on the path that I'm on right now, is to want to help, people in the world to embrace their heart-centeredness and to live life from the heart. And this is kind of what I believe, that we're all source, God, and creator, and that everything is thing on the planet. So both the good and the bad, the physical, the non-physical, everything is God, source, creator, whatever word you like to use for that. I believe in the paradigm that I work from is to reclaim that for yourself. But, a lot of doctrines and paradigms kind of talk about that you have to be better, or you have to reach for your worthiness, or you have to there's a lot of wrong making that happens from my perspective. And so what I believe is that we're here to, and this is what I do for myself and for others, to embrace our expression of source on the planet fully, so that we're all very purposeful expressions, and that everything that you come in with, all personality aspects, traits, you know, the way that you combine information, the way you think, your emotional circuitry, your hopes, your dreams, the way that you love, your joys, this is all very much on purpose, because you are your life purpose. So when you are fully expressed, you are in your life purpose because you have access to all these different aspects. And the only thing that you're going to want to do is then to express that onto the planet in whatever way feels most joyful to you. And you can be of service in that way. And this is what I've done in my own life, and this is what I want to do for others. So I don't believe in any wrong-making, or we are God's source creator doing this journey right now on the planet of empowerment. You know, a lot of people are waking up. We are God experiencing that journey to go from separation of not knowing self to embracing your expression fully. And when you do that, when you know yourself, you know God. I'm sure you've heard this before. Yeah. And with that comes worthiness, and to know that you are just and right on the planet, that you don't have to subscribe to any non-life affirming doctrines or systems that are all around us in society. So you become kind of inoculated against it when you do so. And this is what I found in my own life. And this is what I want others to do so we can all break out of the muggle type of thinking that's been around the planet, and we can all be fully realized and bring in the light that way in our own unique, authentic way. This is what I'm here for.
Yeah, you said a lot of really important things. And I like that you mentioned that even though you were raised Catholic, you didn't necessarily have a lot of the stern upbringing like a lot of us did that have subsequently left the Catholic Church. But I think it's important to raise that point, because even though you didn't have that, like you said, that menacing guilt and shame and all of the other things that you hear people who have left the church say, there was still this like disconnection in who you were, who you wanted to be, living outside of your body, and then putting yourself back together. So I think sometimes people who haven't grown up in a religious experience, or like a really hard religious experience, don't have a lot of people to mirror their experience against. So I think it'll be good that you said that. And I love that you said basically helping people understand that like the point of us living here on earth is to be like in alignment with ourselves and in alignment with source, so that we can become fully realized. And I think we're getting better as like a global culture of doing that. I think it's so important for people like you to carry that message for everyone, because we sometimes don't always have like the words for our own experience, or like you said, when you were young, you were like, you felt different, but you weren't really sure what you were looking for. And it took you a while to sort of uncover what that was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 48 years old now, and I just started to, see the light kind of maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, conceptually, I knew, but to really feel,
right,
to really embrace my own uniqueness and individuality, and all the parts that I had seen were wrong, like my sense of, my sex. I'm gay, so no religions on the planet like gay people, we're hated all over. And then my sense of gender, I'm in a man's body. I'm completely comfortable in that body, but I do not feel like the limited binary of masculinity and femininity that's on the planet. I'm unlabelable, when it comes to society looking at me. And I'm completely okay with that. But that was quite a journey. Finding out about this, that the places where we have been conditioned to judge ourselves, to make ourselves wrong, that I found that there really are vehicles for empowerment when you embrace whatever, you thought was your enemy. You're part of yourself that was your enemy, but it's really your ally. It holds your self-worth, your joys, your identity, your genius. When you embrace these parts of yourself, you gain access to who you are. And then, the voices of the world, which you used to be conditioned to take as your point of reference, they will just turn into whispers, and you'll start trusting who you are and your own expression on the planet.
Yeah, I think there's nothing more satisfying in a life journey is to turn off all of the white noise that's out coming from the external, and saying like, I'm going to love myself no matter what, because I cannot turn away from myself anymore, whatever that authentic self looks like for you. I know I had to go on that same journey as well. And I still bump up against my family's resistance and their disappointment that I've left the Catholic Church, and that I'm not married. And I always joke, like, the last thing that would really upset them is if I decided I was going to be gay, because I've committed every other sin in their eyes. Like, that would be like that would be like the nail in the coffin for them. They would be like, oh my God, I'm not married, I'm divorced, I left the Catholic Church, and I don't have kids right now. So it's like, that would be like the end all be all for them. They would just like
the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, they'd keel over and die. So I can empathize with you up until a point, but we all have our own unique struggles and sufferings through life that we all have to endure. But hopefully, we all come back to ourselves. That's my goal here with this podcast, is teaching people to be authentic, be brave, be weird.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've come to the right place. I'm so glad we're connecting this way then, because this is what I tell my clients. You have to find yourself and then fly your freak flag and turn it on full blast. So others can see you and do the same for themselves. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into your actual like work with regression. And I think what we should do first is just define for the audience what is regression work. And then let's talk a little bit about what you do in that realm.
You know, it used to be called past life regression, but now it's called QHHT. This is Dolores' method, because she realized that people wouldn't just go into past lives. They would go into future lifetimes. They would go to lifetimes on different planets, different bodies, non-human bodies, energy bodies, creator beings. All kinds of possibilities started to come forward. So she changed the name, but people know this work as past life regression, but the name is not completely accurate.
Okay.
What I've learned about this process is that what happens, we create a stronger opening to a person's higher self. So we kind of cut through the white noise of the conscious mind to tap into the part of you that knows, that remembers, that is God's source creator. That's the part that knows it. So that's the part that's connected to all that is. This is the part of God that you hold or that you are. In a session, we do this in order for it to bring in healing experiences to help with the lifetime right now. So regression is not just past life tourism or, different life tourism, but it's really a healing process where you connect to your, people call it higher self or soul or God self, different words, in order to up level to help with answers and healing in the lifetime right now. So, you might think it's all about going into the past, but it's really about making your life now better. And this is done through hypnosis. It's quite a lengthy process. It takes a session takes between 4 and 5 hours. There's different components involved. Becoming easier nowadays because of the vibration on the planet of human consciousness has been raised. There's been changes that have been going on in our spiritual anatomy, like different messages are coming through this work that we're ascending into a higher plane of consciousness. And so a lot of the people now experience this type of work that we're doing right now in a very conscious way. So they don't have to be zoned out, and their conscious might be out of the way to the point where they can't remember anything. But a lot of people now have great access to the higher dimensions of self. I don't know if I said that really clearly, but
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. My next question is there like an underlying theme that people come to you to do this work with you?
Yes, because of my journey and what I'm about on this planet in this incarnation. I work with people that are seeking authenticity and freedom in their own life. And they might not know this when they come in, but when there's an interview that we do before we do the hypnotic part, it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours where we talk about a person's life. 98% of the time, this theme is being brought forward. That people are stuck in their lives and they have problems with relationships, abundance, self-worth. The underlying motivation to do a session is to find that freedom, self-love, and to learn how to love yourself. Yeah, so that's usually what is made clear during the process.
Yeah, I love that. And do you find that when people are coming to you and trying to like clear these blocks, I guess it would be like a more general way to say all of the things that they're trying to move out of the way, does it take multiple sessions? Is it over a handful of times? Like, how often are they coming back to you? I mean, I'm sure it's like a case by case, but what do you see in your practice?
So most of the time, this work is done as a single session. The way healing is received or done differs from person to person. So loving yourself is not, one session and just the flip of a switch. Loving yourself is a journey of relating back to yourself, to find all those parts of yourself that you were conditioned to shut down and not acknowledge. So That is typically not done in one session, although miraculous things have happened in terms of like great strides and great strides and movement forward. Usually it's almost like the pilot light gets turned on, or if it's already on, then the flames are fanned. So there is a big uptick in the experience of oneself. And oftentimes what happens is that people become more clear about how they have been living their life from the outside in, or been looking at themselves through the eyes of culture, society, social constructs. And that's what's got them in trouble. And so after a session, people now have another place to find solace from. They have found a home within themselves, and they know that is the part that they're here to nurture. But that, like I said, that is a journey of relating back to yourself. And to build trust with yourself, there's just time involved, because it's helpful to use your time to take yourself into places that are self-nurturing, where you are experiencing joy, just for fuck's sake, not because, you look good on Instagram or in the eyes of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the underlying sort of thing that happens. But then there's very specific healings that are given, chakras that are cleared. People find out about other parts of their identity that are not of this world. It is very comprehensive. Yeah. And in some sessions, it's very sort of mundane and kind of narrow bandwidth. And in other sessions, it's blown right open. Like, we're going to go straight to source, or aliens, different beings, angels come in, the people that we know in our world as Jesus, and, ascended masters come in. That's also part of the work. And I never know what's going to happen. And being a Gemini, this is like the perfect place for me to work with.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know when we did like our preliminary call, I was trying to understand your work and understand like everything. And I know for me, when I left the Catholic Church and I went on my own spiritual journey, reincarnation made a lot of sense to me, because I just thought like, oh, well, like if I was the creator or creators of this universe, like I would be efficient and I would like want to sort of recycle things. Like that seemed really efficient to me. But also there's like these moments where like, I know I told you I've had like these deja vu moments and premonitions, and I've never really understood like how to reconcile them. And so like for me, I feel like that's usually like an opening for somebody to explore something more in depth, like with what you're doing. But is it more of a general curiosity, or is it because something has happened with them and they're like, I need, besides wanting to reconnect and learn how to love themselves, but there's like something underneath, like subconsciously or within our spirit that's kind of happening with them that initiates them to even come and talk to you in the first place?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes. So I work a lot with people that have just had a spiritual awakening. And spiritual awakening is a very pretty word for a gnarly experience. This is how I relate to it. So spiritual awakenings are places in our lives where we're stripped of anything and everything where we had invested our self-worth in that is outside of ourselves. So it could be, our health, our wealth, our relationship, our job, whatever we derived a sense of self-worth from that is not ourselves, but that's been taken away. So usually I work with people that have just experienced this sort of wake-up call, or they've been going, like it's been a year or so, and then they find me. And most of the time, the type of people that I work with. But
so they're already experiencing some sort of awakening, and they're like kind of stuck or maybe confused about what's happening or what the evolution of them is happening in, and they come to you and they kind of want some clarity about what's going on. And then when you do your session, they get that kind of clarity they need? Exactly.
So because of the type of work that I do, this is not something that is, you find, one of the folders in the rack in your doctor's office. Have health issues, go see, QHHT,
right.
Dolores Cannon's work, so
yeah.
People, it usually pops up on their YouTube feed as they're already looking for, spirituality or something,
yeah.
Dolores Cannon, curious to see what's going on. And so, yeah, I guess this is what's answering your question. Usually people have had experiences that are not seen as normal through, society's eyes. They've had experiences that they're unsure about because they didn't fit what they have known, been taught about reality. So they might have had communication or contact with what we call aliens or angels or premonitions or psychic experiences, or it can be all of these things and others. Like there's such a wide variety of experiences that people are having these days that that don't fit within the general thinking of the culture.
Yeah, I know, like on my journey, I feel like as I became more awakened and I started to like see things more clearly and connect more with my spirit side than my human side, there were just things that would happen and would be like, what was that? You know? Or like going to my first Reiki healing and I literally saw like my spirit guides come down from I don't know where, but I had my eyes closed and covered and I saw these two really beautiful angelic creatures. And it was like I was seeing them like my eyes were open, but my eyes were not open. And it was the most crazy experience I'd had up until that point. And so I think that also having texture and tools to help you navigate your spiritual journey, like with the work that you do, is so important, because I think as we start to realize like there's a part of us that is our energy that's forever. It's not just this human lifetime, and it's bringing forth memories, and I don't even know if memory is the right word, but experiences, and tying our collective experience through lifetimes together. That can be really confusing and weird and woo-woo, and like sometimes you need people like you to help us figure it out, you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. For me, I don't know, I guess I've been lucky that I've always looked from the outside, and like I was always outside of society. I never felt like I belonged. I always looked at it from the outside.
Yeah.
Because of my sense of gender, my sexuality, and just being checked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I never fit in anyway. So for me, the work that I'm doing now I didn't feel completely grounded and incarnated in this life until I fully embraced my spiritual experiences, my empathic capacity. When I started claiming or acknowledging that what I felt myself to be and what life was about for me was normal, was true, and that all the cruelty and exploitation and destruction that we're seeing around us, as a result of all those non-life affirming systems, political, social, religious, economic, that is not normal. That is not life affirming, and that is not who we are innately. It's just, this is the cycle of ego mind patriarchy that we've been in for I don't know how long, but it's ending. Changes are happening.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that very much as a woman, and I feel very grateful to all of the people before me that have done a lot of work to create space for me to be a strong feminine energy when I live in my energy. That is feminine, because I definitely vacillate between both. But okay, so if somebody was interested in doing regression work with you, but they were nervous, like what could we tell them about not being nervous?
So usually people, because I meet that quite a bit. People come in and they kind of look unsure, and they sit down and they don't know where to look, or what is like, what's going on? How do you feel about this? I'm a little nervous. And usually it's about either they think that I'm going to be in control of them, during a session, that I can make them dance like a puppet and have them eat lemons like they're peaches, and that is not at all what it's like. Really what we're doing is the session is guided by a person's higher self. So I'm merely a facilitator to help you maintain the connection and to be a clear receiver, basically, of the communication of your higher self. When I experience this process myself, when I'm in this state, I am fully aware of who I am today. I can hear the sounds that are going on around me, but I'm choosing to focus on whatever information is dropping into my mind's eye, or that I'm getting through my intuition, my hunches, my senses. And being in that state, you just have more focus for it. So it's a clearer connection. Another reason why people are worried about this work sometimes is they think that it's like opening the floodgates or ripping a Band-Aid off, or opening, the lid of a container of like pent up stuff that they're not ready, that would cause them to be overwhelmed. And that is also not what's happening. I've seen really amazing ways of a person's higher self orchestrating particular information that could have been very traumatic, but in ways where it was very gentle and very loving and very, very helpful, that people would only see things that were helpful, and they wouldn't go through, like they wouldn't be re-traumatized, because of certain things that went on in their past. Yeah.
Or if they're like coming up against a like experience that was really heavy, if they're going back into their regression, is what you're saying, that they're not re-traumatized by that experience.
Exactly, because there would be no point for it. Yeah. Sometimes people come in even with this old school religious thinking, of there be a judgment that they have done something wrong, and are they going to find out they need to be punished, and there's none of that is present in this work, because we're tapping into your God self. And, judging and punishing is human as fuck. That has nothing to do with God, with God,
Yeah.
This is just all this depression and the fear that we have been indoctrinated with to help us keep us small. And it's a tool that's been used against us, but that is not who we are. We are pure unconditional love. And the more that we accept ourselves and we forgive, limitations or judgment against ourselves, the more we embrace who we are, the more relationships we build with ourselves, the more we're capable of being in compassionate relationship with others around us in our environment. And when we do that, we experience ourselves and everything around us as God, and we do not want to bring it harm. We just want to support it. And what a wonderful world it would be, if we all would get there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. And I often wonder, as I've gone on this journey and I've become more liberated in my experience, and also thinking about my ecosystem around me and not wanting to cause any more harm, and taking just like a lot of personal responsibility about my interactions and stuff, I often wonder, like, how close to a kind and verdant world could we get to if we were all doing this work? I know it wouldn't be perfect, but I often wonder, like, how much as a society could we get there if we all just return to ourselves in that really loving, non-judgmental, accepting, self-compassionate place. I think like the world would be a completely different place. I just wish that we'll get there one day.
Same here. I think that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To help bring that about.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned on this journey with all the people that I've met, and we're all kind of doing some version of that collective work. For anyone who's listening and is just starting out on their spiritual path and is curious about why they feel called to do this, is like each one of us ripples into infinity with the work that we do with the people around us. And so like, you're doing your work, I'm doing my work. And it's important for us that like, even if we're not like super famous people or anything like that, it's still important to do the work and honor your path, as a word of encouragement to say to anyone who's listening, who's like, I'm really into all of the spiritual stuff. I want to heal myself. I want to heal the world. And you do it, I think, initially for yourself. And then once you've gotten to an optimal place of healing, then you go and you help heal the world around you, right?
I love how you described that. It matches my own understanding of it, and also what a person's higher self was sharing in a session maybe a week and a half ago, is that, it's almost like we're a network of light workers on the planet. And when healing happens for one, it strengthens the whole web of it, because we're all connected. I think that different generations that have come onto the planet to volunteer, to help raise the frequency, what we have been doing is to take the negativity and the limitations of the human psyche into our being and to transform them in our own life, to heal ourselves. In doing so, transforming or lightening the harmonics of human consciousness on the planet as a result. So it's almost like we're spiritually for breathing, the human psyche.
I love that. Neutralizing the spiritual negativity with spiritual Febreze. I love that.
Right.
You might have to trademark that.
Yes, I might. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was awesome. Oh, I don't think I've laughed that hard on this podcast. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's why it's super important for us to all do our work. Okay, so we got through all of the questions. First, though, do you have any additional advice for anyone on the spiritual path, wanting to do this kind of work, inspired by you to want to maybe train to do this work? What words of advice do you have for people?
The main thing is to give yourself permission that joy is your natural state, and to follow your joy is going to take you into your life purpose. Because when you not just know what gives you joy, but when you choose to find places of joy in your life. So when you push out all the shoulds, and I have to go to work and I have to be there for my mom and all that stuff, and you push that aside for a little bit and you just create spaces to experience joy, whatever they are for you. Maybe it might just be sitting in your backyard and listening to the wind through the trees, or being at the beach, or, simple things that just bring you joy. When you do that, you're letting your heart know you're present for it. You're actually valuing your heart to create joyful experiences. And when you do that, you build relationship and trust with yourself. And joy is easy. Joy is fun. So it's a low threshold sort of activity that you can do to start attuning yourself to your true north, which your life purpose, which is joy fully expressed. And so that would be my overall sort of advice or suggestion, to listen to your heart, to listen to your joy, and to find places of joy. But if you want to learn this technique, QHHT, you can go to the official website. It's called QHHTofficial.com and find out about online courses, or Dolores Cannon's daughter, Julia Cannon, travel around teaching this method. So that could be a course close to you.
Beautiful. I love that answer. And then where can everyone find you on social media?
Okay, so I'm based in Los Angeles, so I see people here in my office. Best way to connect with me is on social media, on Instagram, and my Instagram profile name is my first name, so Jeroen, which is spelled Jeroen, and then is love is my affirmation. So Jeroen is love.
Well, you said a lot of loving things today, so I'm glad that that's your handle on Instagram. And then,
thank you.
Yeah, and I like to end every podcast interview in gratitude. So I like to ask my guest, what 3 things are they grateful for in this moment?
In this moment, I am really grateful for my kitty. I have a cat that I love to pieces. He just walked past me looking at me. When is my next serving of kibble going to happen? I love him. I'm super grateful I'm looking out in my backyard, and there's so many trees here that I'm really grateful for. And then I'm grateful I'm going to go into the mountains this afternoon because I have my day off. And so I'm so looking forward to that.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I think you had so many wonderful, beautiful things to say, and I know that it's going to touch my audience's life, and I'm so grateful you came here to do this with me today.
Thank you for your platform, inspiring people, and thank you to allow me to find the answers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm so grateful that you came here. This podcast was written, directed, and produced by me, your host, Krista Xiomara. Co-produced and mixed by Billy Lee Myers Jr. Music created and curated by Mr. Pixie. Podcast artwork by Rebecca Rodella. You can find I'm Awake Now What podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Head over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe, download, rate, and review. Come back every Sunday to take part in a new and enlightening conversation. May you be filled with love and light until we meet again.